Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Footprints. I'm your host, Anthony Davis. I'm an educator at BHS. And joining me today on the show is a guy who takes sort of wrestling and UFC to another level. Joining me today on the program is he's a sophomore at BHS Beverly High School, ladies and gentlemen. This is Liam Labrie. Welcome, Liam, to the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to ask you a question right off the bat. Tell us something, Liam, about yourself that nobody knows. Something kind of quirky, could be funny.
That nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows.
When I was like 6, I believe, I was in the North Shore Mall, and I was running around. I think it was like some Chinese food place. It was so amazing. And I was bouncing off the walls because I just had a bunch of sugar. I jumped off of a table, and then I cracked my head on the corner of it. And then I got back up, and then my parents had to take me to the ER, but I was just like, I was completely fine. I don't know why I wasn't crying or anything.
Why did you jump off the table?
Well, honestly, I don't really know. You know, I was 6 years old, but you know, I guess I just felt like jumping off a table at that point.
Yeah, sometimes we do these impulsive things a lot. Believe me, I've done it myself, and I'm sure you, ladies and gentlemen, have done it as well. Tell us a little bit about your family. What do your parents do? How did you come by the footprints that you have now? What do they do for a living?
Well, my mother, I have 3 siblings, and it's just my mom and my dad at home. So it's just like, you know, that's a lot to deal with. So my mother, she usually is like at home taking care of my siblings.
Okay, all right.
And then
I like that.
My father, he is the head branch manager for a liquor store in Winchester.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So, man, I'll tell you, we need to connect with him. You know what I mean? I like adult beverages, believe me. Awesome. So you said you have 3 siblings. Where do you fall? Who's the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest.
Yeah.
And then you have a younger brother, younger sister?
Both younger sisters.
2 younger sisters. Okay, so now they're looking up at you.
Yeah.
And they're saying, hey, what is Liam going to be doing? What footprints is he going to be leaving? Right? So let's talk about that a little bit. Do you have any pets?
I do, actually.
What do you have?
I have a cat named Arlo. He doesn't act like a cat at all. I don't know why. He hasn't really been raised around cats. He was taken from his home very young, at a shelter, and he was put in our house. And so basically he's only ever interacted with humans. Oh. So he has very human-like behavior, except he's developed almost like our vet described it as like OCD or like a separation anxiety. Yep. And he feels like he's gonna die without me. He just starts meowing. He runs around the house. He starts scratches on all the doors. And as soon as I come back, he just clings to my leg and won't let me go.
Okay, all right.
He's a loudmouth.
So it's funny. My wife was a cat person way back when, and we had a cat called Periwinkle, and we used to call Periwinkle as like a dog. Because he would do certain things a dog would do. Yeah. He'd go to the door when there was people there, and he'd look around, and we'd let him out, and he'd come back, obviously. So it was really kind of interesting. But now I turned my wife from a cat person into a dog person. So what ended up happening is my daughter had Shih Tzu puppies, purebred puppies, and I told my wife, let's go look at the puppies. You know what I mean? She's like, I don't want another pet. We're just gonna go look at them. So we went to look at the puppies, and obviously we fell in love with one and brought one home. And now we have Bear, who is our guy. And then, of course, I have 2 other puppies at my house. But that's another story for another day, indeed. Let's talk a little bit about you, Liam, as your passion and what really kind of drove you into being who you are today. We talked a little bit about UFC. That was one of the biggest things. You like wrestling.
I love wrestling, but actually, there's a story behind that.
Okay, yes, please tell us.
So, I think this is how it is for just about everyone who does high school wrestling, mostly because it's just like something you really don't hear about until minimum of your freshman year. Mm-hmm. So, I was just kind of sitting around. I was trying to get into martial arts. I already was into boxing, and I was like, I was appreciating the cultures out there. I was trying to explore and basically get a bigger view on the world, kind of expand my scope. And I was like, I was looking at all these different martial arts, and I was like, there's a combination of all of them. There's mixed martial arts.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, yeah, I would love to do mixed martial arts, but I don't know how to like grapple. I don't know how to get on someone's leg. I hit people. And so one of my friends, randomly, that thought was way back in the back of my mind. I wasn't even thinking about this. This is months later. My friend came up to me and he was like, Liam, do you want to go to the open mats? And I was like, what open mats? What are those? And it was like, for wrestling. And I was like, wrestling? Like WWE? I was like, no, like grappling, like what I do. And I was like, oh, like jujitsu? And he's like, close enough. Pulled me along.
Close enough.
3:30, I had like a hoodie on, like my Boston College hoodie. I had jeans on. Under that, I had shorts, everything I needed. But underneath the hoodie, I just had a wife beater. And you're supposed to wear like t-shirts and maybe like a compression hoodie and sweatpants. So I had absolutely normal skin knees. I still had the skin on the hair on my knees at this point. And then I just had like a wife beater on, and then I think that was a great introduction to my into how that shaped me as a person. I find myself appreciating those moments and just like indulging into random things that people really haven't really thought about. You don't even really think about, oh yeah, man, I'm going to do high school wrestling. Yeah. Oh, let's go try it out. Why not?
Yeah, you're true. That's true. So it's interesting when you explore certain things, right? And you're like, oh, I wonder if I'd be good at that, or I wonder if I might like that. The only way to know is to kind of dive in and see if it's going to be something for you, right? Now, do you like UFC?
I actually, I love it specifically because they really do pick some of the best from regionals. It's like there's amateurs, there's professionals, there's regionals, and then you get into like some of the branches and stuff. So like seeing like the highest level, even if it's just like the beginning of the card and it's not exciting fights and it's just like people just like basically fighting for their month's rent, right. Seeing like them go exchange and then like trying to analyze it, and it's almost like chess the way I like to.
Oh, for sure. So now, if someone were to watch a UFC match and they said to you, "Is this just violence?" or how do you explain that it's not? Like, what are they doing? Like, if someone were with you and they didn't really understand what UFC was all about.
Well, I mean, like MMA as a whole, it's mixed martial arts. For a reason. The whole point is it's like a form of dancing almost. It's like, except instead of just trying to like figure out like what the other person's gonna do by stepping on their foot, getting transitions in, it's seeing what they're doing, going 3 steps ahead of that, and trying to predict through your own experience and your own lens what they might do, and same with them, what they might think you do. It's it's a mind game and it's a physical test of your ability. It's a mental and physical warfare at its peak.
So that's one of the things I respect about it. But now let me ask you this. What do you think is more important in that sport, skill or toughness, and why?
Honestly, if you had to go for one of them, I gotta say I've seen the biggest guys take the hardest falls, and it's all because toughness doesn't equal everything. It's all about the work that you put in and the skill that you receive from it. It's like you can't just go in and be like a bodybuilder and and go against some dude who's like probably like half your size, half your weight. He's gonna fold you in half.
Exactly. So you got to have some kind of strategy of how you're gonna really attack this person, right? Or really kind of like grapple, whatever you're gonna do, right? So let's think about this for a second. There's a mental aspect to this too, as well as the physical, right? And wrestling can be sometimes really, really lonely. So I'll ask you, what goes through your mind when you're sort of like your body wants to kind of quit on a certain level, right? And you're like, oh, I really can't do this. But what goes through your mind when that happens to you?
I think this happens for a lot of people. I think the thing that comes with wrestling and mixed martial arts, is that your body naturally, if I'm being honest, you're like to a point just killing yourself slowly, bit by bit, chunk by chunk. Okay, you're not in one go. but you're bit by bit and your body's telling you, oh no, I can't do this. Oh no, we got to give up. And then just tries to physically and mentally break itself down so it can recover. But I take a step back from my own head and I take an outside perspective. And even for just a moment, I try and look at what I'm doing. I look at if I'm like physically hurt or physically safe, see if I'm pushing myself too much, to a point of injury. And if I'm like, oh no, I'm just being a baby, I'll just go right back in and I'll just be like, I'll just try and shut myself up.
Oh, okay. So having that perspective and seeing that you can get through it and fighting that adversity is really important. I mean, think about the footsteps or the footprints that you're leaving as you're doing this, right? You're giving yourself a roadmap as you're really kind of grappling and fighting and kind of having to recall those certain things with each individual that comes to you because they're going to present a different perspective or a different possibility of how you're trying to engage with that person, right? Excuse me. Now, what has wrestling taught you about pressure, not only in the ring, on the mat, but also maybe in school?
I gotta say, it's taught me about it hasn't taught me just discipline, but it's taught me about basically as a whole, like putting in work and receiving it, like being the only two people in front of an entire crowd is gotta be, it's a different level of stage fright. Especially when it's not just, you're not just reading off a script and acting. Right. You're physically performing as best as you can, and it's really stressful. But the feeling that I get when I win or lose, it's pretty much the same. I got back up, I take a step back, and I realize from this pressure, it's created basically this situation where I feel like a diamond, Right. It makes me feel like I'm the only guy in the world who just did this.
So what's interesting about that is I think everybody's experience will be different. And as they're going through certain types of adversity, everybody rises to challenges differently. And for you, going through that and figuring it out, right, through wrestling and grappling is kind of really important. Because now you're figuring out, okay, that wasn't so bad. I can kind of get through that part of it, right? And you're like, okay, once you get through that, it's like, that's not so bad. I can get through that part of it, right? And the more you keep stacking those days up, the better you're going to be in your regular life, because guaranteed you're going to hit some adversity at some point, right, during your life when you're out of school. So you're building those habits now, which are really good. And you're able to take those wins and losses, stack them up, and then see exactly what it is that you can use to get through the adverse times that are going to happen, which I really love. Who would you rather fight? Someone more talented than you, or someone who never stops coming?
Honestly,
that's a tough one.
If we're saying like immovable object versus unstoppable force, I gotta say someone who's more technical than me, mostly because I feel like, especially like learning from a situation, even if it's me getting my butt kicked, that's always a win, especially when someone's like significantly more talented than me.
Right.
I try and just do the regular things or like the stuff that I want to do normally, and I know that I want to do.
Right.
And then I look back on it. I ask others, what did I see? What was I doing? Especially when I'm in the rush in the moment, I can't tell. I was like, what was I doing? I was like, oh, you stepped your foot over his leg. He threw you. And I was like, oh, dang it. I won't do that next time.
Exactly. So everything's a learning process. And as you're going through that, you're learning what to do, what not to do, how to attack, when to attack, what angle you're going to use. All that is really awesome. Now, excuse me. For some reason, Mr. Davis is not in good voice today, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll be better. Which UFC fighter do you study the most? And what are you actually kind of learning or stealing from that particular UFC fighter?
Honestly, I think out of most, I study people like, I wouldn't want to say like attitude-wise, Attitude-wise, it'd probably be someone like Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's like, yeah, he's one of those Dagestani guys who's been basically born and raised, and his mindset is just like so dedicated and so strong. Every single time I take a look at it, I just like, I hear stuff about his life, and I was like, man, that man got through some of the worst possible things I think I've heard of, and he came out and he didn't just survive, but he thrived.
So that's the beautiful part of what we're talking about here, because think about this. If UFC never existed, how would this guy get through the things he's gone through, right? He now has a platform or a stage, so to speak, to really get his aggression out, right? And also, not only that, show the world this is what I'm about. I can fight this fight and then overcome this adversity and continue to go and build off of that, right? So now I did a little study in here, Liam.
Yeah.
There are UFC fighters by era.
Yeah.
Right? And I was looking at this, and I was like, there's some early 90s guys that I like. Royce Gracie.
Oh, yeah.
Kem Shamrock. Dan Severn. Tito Ortiz was one of my favorites. Chuck Liddell. Randy Couture.
Yeah.
Those are the old school guys, right? Then we got some legends like George St. Pierre, right? Anderson Silva, really good one. John Jones, who I really love. Johnny Bones Jones, right? Daniel Cormier, and also Jose Aldo. Those are the guys that are kind of legends, right? In the 2000s, early 2000s, right? Then we get to guys like Leonard Edwards, Sean O'Malley, right? Who's really good, right? These are guys that are highly technical and strategic type of guys, right? Then we get the next generation guys, right? Patty Pimblett, which is really good, right? Bo Nicol, right? These guys exude power, confidence, and composure. And so I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking, wow, I can't believe that I've liked UFC this long. Like, since Chuck Liddell was fighting, since Tito Ortiz was fighting, since all those guys were fighting, Ken Shamrock, all those guys were fighting, I've liked it for that amount of time. In fact, what's interesting is my youngest son is 20, he's gonna be 21 soon, and for Christmas, he used to buy him these little men, and they would be UFC wrestlers, they'd be WWE wrestlers, UFC fighters. He have all these guys, Kem Shamrock, all these different guys. And for me, it was like, this is really kind of a cool thing. It's like a surreal moment, like almost like a full circle moment for me talking about this, because when I was younger, much younger, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed like grappling and all that stuff. As a matter of fact, I liked it so much, my parents put me in karate. I'm like a third-degree black belt in Kempo karate, which I love. And now I'm studying Wing Chun, which is I have this book called The Tao of Jeet Kune Do by Bruce Lee. I kind of refer back to it a lot, and I look at some of the things that he talked about, Western stuff versus Eastern stuff, boxing, Muay Thai, grappling, all that stuff, jiu-jitsu, and so I kind of really like all of it, and I'm glad we're kind of having this discussion today. It's really kind of cool, right? These are some of the old school guys, right? These are some of the pictures. There's Kem Shamrock, there's my guy right there, right? So you think about it, right? This is an era, and to be honest now, you're a sophomore in high school, right? And you're on the wrestling team, I would imagine.
Due to my bad grades.
Oh, all right. So let's talk a little bit about that, because we need to get you squared away so that you can actually be on the wrestling team. Okay. So we're gonna figure this out, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna make sure Liam. Next time we're gonna do an update, and the next time we talk to Liam, he's gonna tell me how much fun he's had wrestling and grappling with all these other guys, because we're gonna take care of those grades for him for sure. Okay, now let's ask a couple more questions, because now I was thinking about identity and balance. And I was thinking about, like, what's harder, losing a close match or getting dominated?
I gotta say, losing a close match.
Okay, and why? Why do you think losing a close match
I think losing a close match means that you quit out when you shouldn't have.
Okay.
And I'm saying, like, unless you're supposed to be using more than 110% at all times.
Right.
You're going to be going ham for 6 minutes straight, and that's just how it is. You're putting yourself for full exertion.
Okay.
So, if you, let's say you even slip up even like a little, and you get caught, and it's getting close. It shouldn't be close. Like, it should always be like you're working harder, you want it more, all that stuff. So it usually comes down to mentality. So it's like when I see guys like losing, it's usually obvious that they, like they're not putting as much aggression or as much effort or like as much like kind of themselves into it rather than like, Well,
I think one of the biggest things is to fall back on your training, like fundamentally speaking, right? So I'm a basketball coach, and that's what I always tell my guys. It's like, listen, I'm missing that jump shot, or I'm missing that layup. Well, you're not playing off 2 feet, or you're not shooting the basketball, you're flicking it, and, you're not, your eyes aren't on the rim, or, there's just these little fundamental things that you forget when you're in it, right? And I think the best people who can adapt to the situation that they're in, right, while it's going on, those are the people that really kind of come through when you don't think they're going to, right? That's what happens. It's like, all right, they kind of adapt. And I mean, I've seen some fights where a guy's getting his butt kicked. Like, I'm a big component of UFC, but I also like boxing. Muhammad Ali was one of my biggest fans. I was a fan of his. And I really loved boxing. And I used to watch him, and I'd be like, man, he's getting his butt kicked. And all of a sudden, he'd turn it around, right? He'd get that, whatever it was, deep down inside and turned it around. So all that adversity in the beginning of the first rounds, a couple rounds he was losing, and all of a sudden, boom, turned it around. I mean, I often think of the fight between him and George Foreman, the Thriller in Manila, right, where he turned it around. And so being able to do that and summon something from yourself in that moment when it's needed the most, and then being able to come through and do it is amazing. And so I think when those guys are fighting the UFC and you're watching that, that's exactly what's happening. You know what I mean? They're really identifying that, hey, I can do this. This is not hard for me. You know what I mean? I'm making it harder than it has to be. So now, when you're not wrestling, or watching fights, what do you usually do? What do you have any other hobbies that you like to do?
I have. Actually, recently, I've been getting into a lot of hobbies.
Okay, so tell us about some of the recent hobbies.
I'm definitely, this sounds bad, but I was like, I'm not going to college.
No, it's not bad. Listen, college is not for everybody. Let me just put that out there, ladies and gentlemen. Not for everybody. Some people want to go to college. Some people do. Some people don't. It's fine. You know what I mean? I'll tell you this. My son went to college, and he loved it. But, he was not really sure about it. And then when he got out, he decided to do a trade. So how about that? That's exactly what happens. Like you find something, you gravitate toward what you really absolutely love. So tell us about your footprint journey. What are you thinking of doing?
I'm definitely going for a trade, and I'm probably going to go to fire school.
Okay. All right. And so that interests you. That's what you really want to do? I love it.
I actually wanted to be an EMT to start off.
Okay.
And I was like, I was looking at it, and I was like, they just get their EMT certification. And I was looking at other first responders, and I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Firefighters need to get their EMT certification too. They just get paid more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you got to crawl before you walk. You start there, and then you can move right up. And those will be your footprints that you'll be leaving, right? Then you'll see, your sisters will see that, and they'll be like, wow, he picked something he really wants to get into. I'm going to follow my passion too. And that's the best part about footprints. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you like our content, please subscribe to BevCam. Don't forget to go to www.footprintsimpact.com. If you want to be a guest on the show, fill out our guest form, and come tell us your story like Liam is telling us his. All right, check this out. Now, do you feel any type of pressure to make a decision about your future? We talked a little bit about it, but do you feel any pressure about, I want to do this, but I'm not really sure? Do you feel that at all?
Actually, people have been like, kind of like, oh, it's fine if you feel this, all like this pressure. And I was like, I'm just going with the flow,
Right.
I know I'm going to probably, you don't need like a 4.0 GPA to get into like a trade school.
Okay.
All you need is your high school diploma and the willingness to learn. So.
Okay, so now future thinking. and then we're going to get into some rapid fire questions. If your future self listened to this podcast, right, what would you hope that person would say, or really, what would you hope they have gotten out of this conversation?
I wish they could get like understanding on the stupid stuff I'm doing now, and like take it out of their lives and make sure that we
all do stupid stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
It's all right. You know what I mean? But listen, that shapes the people that we become, right? You have to do what I call trial and error, right? There's certain things you got to try, and once you try it, right, it's like, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't so bad, or maybe that was pretty stupid. I shouldn't have done that, right? Those things do happen, and so that's just what happens in life. And the beautiful part about it is, as you're going through that, now you realize, all right, well, that wasn't so smart. I won't do that again, right? And so it's just like telling a baby, don't stick your finger in the fire, it's hot, right? And they're like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? And then they stick their finger and it's like, I told you it was hot. You didn't listen. And now they've learned that lesson, right? So that's the same thing with you. You're figuring out things that you want to do, and you're figuring out what's going to be best for you in your situation, which is great. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about the future. What does success in look like later on after you graduate high school? Let's say 5 years down the road. What does success look like to you for Liam Labrie?
Well, I mean, so far I have like a plan of what I generally want to do, and like I just want to see myself like a little farther down that plan than I expect it to be. You know, I expect myself to be. I want to exceed my own expectations.
I love it. Well, listen, the beautiful part about that is you have the power to do that, right? Nobody else has that power but you. And so as you put that plan in place and you're looking and you're saying, you know what, I'm going to go here so I can get to here and get up here. That's the beautiful part of footprints and following your passion in what you want to do in life. That's awesome, Liam. I love that. That deserves a knuckle bump right there. Rapid fire. Let's talk about some rapid fire questions. First thing that come to mind: hardest part of a match.
Hardest part of a match?
Yes, the UFC match.
I gotta say, pacing out your opponent and getting them to follow your pace.
Okay, all right. How about one word that describes how you feel stepping onto the mat?
I gotta say, it feels like Billy Joel's like Pressure just starts playing, you know, that one song.
Pressure, bum, 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 bum. Yes, I do know that. That is amazing. Okay, how about this? Coffee or tea?
Ooh, so I'm just gonna say this is a hot take. Okay, I love tea. I was gonna go home and make tea right after this.
Okay, all right.
But I love, for the life of me, when it comes to I like drinking black coffee, but I love having 3 pumps of cream, 2 sugar, and then having like just a whole pump of caramel in there. You get all swished up, you know. It's like, it's chilly, but there's no wind outside, so you know you can just sit on your porch and your breath is showing.
I like it.
You can drink a nice, nice caramel coffee. It's amazing.
That is awesome. Well, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I am a tea drinker. I do like tea, so that's always a good thing. All right, so now if you, sir, Liam Labrie, were to have lunch or dinner with his favorite UFC fighter, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that is hard. I have a few influences. I was going to go either with Daniel Cormier or GSP.
All right. So what were some of the things let's say you had them both there. You had Cormier and GSP, George St. Pierre, ladies and gentlemen, by the way. That's who it is. So if you had them both there, all right, what would you ask Cormier first? What was the first thing you would ask him?
Honestly, I would do something like I am right now, you know. I'd ask him like, what kind of like led you to there? What kind of like led you these steps?
What were your footprints? You know? How did you get to where you became? Right? How did you become to this spot right here? Same thing with GSP, right? Because we know those guys have a lot of different backgrounds and they've come to some adversity in their life and they've had to overcome it. So that's a beautiful part about the footprints that they're making is their footprints have influenced you to sit here and talk about your love of UFC. right? And wrestling and grappling and all of that. And I think that's awesome. And now you have a plan to do some things as well, which I love. All right, which is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, again, if you like our content, please subscribe to BevCam. Don't forget to go to www.footprintsimpact.com. Fill out the guest form. Come sit here. Tell us your story. We'd love to hear it. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure to have sat today with sophomore sensation Liam Labrie, a Beverly High School sophomore. And Liam, ladies and gentlemen, the next time we're going to have an update here, by the way. Liam will definitely be on the wrestling team. Mr. Davis is going to make sure that happens, all right? For sure, without a doubt. We're going to do that, all right? Because that's your calling, my friend.
It is.
It's your calling. It has been my pleasure to have been here and had a conversation with Liam today. And I always leave you with this question, but I'm going to leave you with two today. Who left a footprint on you? And ladies and gentlemen, what are you going to do with it? I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.